I want to share with you a meditation we did at a recent Japa workshop. So we talked about accepting things as they are. Something is the way it is. Now, we may want to change it. We may want to make it better. We may not like it. It may be wrong. It may be unjust. It may be against what Srila Prabhupada taught, etc. So accepting it as it is doesn't mean we're acknowledging that it's okay. It just means in this moment, this is how it is. And in this moment, there's nothing we can do about it. Not that we may not want to try, that's not the point, but just accepting as is often difficult because there are many things that are disgusting or unjust or horrible, but they happen. And then we were talking about accepting other things as they are, like ourselves. I'm not so smart, or I'm not so beautiful, or I'm not so this or that, but this is how I am. This is what Krishna gave me. I have a certain karma. This is what Krishna gave me. So this is how I am. Accepting myself. Of course, I want to be better. But at this moment, this is what I'm able to do. This is what I have. This is the deck of cards that I have right now. And then some of the devotees were thinking, well, there are other devotees that are better than me. And sometimes I want to be like them, but I get jealous of them or envious when I see them succeeding. So I'm not accepting things as they are. I'm not accepting this devotee is more successful, or this devotee is more Krishna conscious, or smarter, more talented, more beautiful, whatever. So that's also an aspect of accepting as is. It's just, this is the way it is. It can't change. You tried to do this, he tried to do this, he's up here, you're down here. Or maybe you failed, maybe you crashed, and he's succeeding. And sometimes we're very happy about that, and sometimes we're very upset about it, and sometimes it's hard to accept, especially if we don't like that person, or especially if we know something about that person's private life that others don't know. And then when he's being honored, we think, well, if you knew what he's really like, you wouldn't honor him. And so it's hard to accept as is. And maybe it's true. He shouldn't be honored because his private life is not Krishna conscious, and nobody knows that. So maybe you want to bring that to the authorities' attention and so on, and that you can do. But in that moment, this is what's happening. So that's the idea of accepting as is. So all the devotees meditated, and you can do this also and try this, meditated on something that they find very difficult to accept as is. It could even be a statement of your spiritual master, or it could be a service that you find difficult and that's important for you to do. It could be anything that's hard just for you to accept it as it is. Something that you would like to be able to accept. It should be definitely something that would be helpful for you spiritually, that's blocking you in some way. Not some little thing that the neighbor, he mows the lawn at 5 a.m. and it disturbs my chanting. That's not, but something bigger, perhaps like envy, or the behavior of another devotee. You wish you could change, but you can't. Just, it's the way it is. Or problems in ISKCON. We're trying to work on them, but right now this is the way they are. And some problems have existed for a long time, and maybe it's possible we'll never solve them. And it bothers us, and we need to learn to accept as is. So we place that in our heart, and that desire to accept it. We didn't place it in our head, we placed it in our heart, more as a feeling, like I'm envious, or I want to change this person, and just relate to the feeling and how that feeling is not Krishna conscious. And what might be the Krishna conscious feeling? What might it be like to just allow myself to accept that? How Krishna conscious would that be? How would I feel? How much better that would be for me as a devotee, and maybe for others as well. So we chanted that way, and after we chanted around, everyone was very intensely chanting, because accepting as is, there are things which a lot of us feel are virtually impossible to accept as they are. And I could see that in the room. Everyone was very intense. Everyone was very focused. No one was spaced out. No one was bored. And then after one round, I said, so are you in a better position to accept as is right now? Everybody said, I need more time. I need to chant more. And I thought, this is good, because we're working on something, and it's developing within us a desire to chant more, because we need to chant to overcome the problem. So then we chanted another round, and still very intense, because the problem is so intense, therefore the chanting needed to be intense. And you all know, when your life is difficult, your rounds are usually better. Everybody says that. So what we did with this exercise is kind of like we intensified the reality of a problem we have that we may not be always conscious of. So it kind of brought us not to this state of my life is miserable and things are horrible, but that this is a problem for me, and it has a similar flavor and intensity as when we're in difficulty. So then I explained that Mahaprabhu says chant 24 hours a day. But in order to do that, you have to be humble, and humility means to be helpless. So when you're helpless and you need help and you can't solve a problem, especially when the problem is serious, you're always asking for help. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? Like you're starting a project and you need help. You're asking devotees, can you help? Can you help? And you'll be asking for help, resources, whatever you need, you'll be asking it till you'll get enough. And as long as you don't get enough, there's this gap between the goal and the resources you have, and you need help. And so there's this anxiety, this intense need. So it's very similar. When you have a need and you feel inadequate in fulfilling it, you ask Krishna to help. And so that's why Mahaprabhu says when you're humble, you can chant 24 hours a day, because humility means I realize I'm helpless and I need to depend on Krishna. So we kind of brought in this form of humility into our japa by asking the devotees to focus on something they really need to be able to accept that they can't, because it creates kind of an intense problem, an intense gap. And you can do this with so many things. What you need to detach from, that's another thing. What you're trying to control, that you shouldn't be trying to control, or that you can't control at all. Who do you need to forgive? What do you need to let go of? What are you resisting? Anything that's a problem that's difficult to deal with creates a gap between solution and where you're at. And that causes us to chant more intensely. So why don't you try this and see if this works for you? I know during this exercise, I actually didn't want to chant japa, because what I was dealing with, accepting, I've been working on it, but I need to work on it more. And I've been making progress, but I need to make more progress, because I want to be 100% pure and Krishna conscious. And so when we finished chanting 2 rounds, I actually felt like I needed all day to work on this, and I needed many days to work on this. And it was just empowering me to just want to sit there and chant and pray with this desire to be able to accept something I couldn't accept. So I'm offering this to you and these other examples of meditations to try to put in practice to intensify and energize your japa, to put you more in the mood of prayer, to help you overcome being spaced out, bored, mechanically chanting, and so forth. Because when you put energy, you put this prayerful energy and this humble energy, then, as Mahaprabhu says, you can chant 24 hours a day. Who knows? Maybe by applying this practice, you may actually want to chant all day, and you can just keep going on praying, Krishna, I need this, I need this, I need this. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Well, anyway, let's put it into practice and see what happens. Hare Krishna.